Shalom, my name is Michael Decker, and I'm a lawyer within the law offices of Cohen, Decker, Pex & Brosh. Today I wanted to discuss with you about an Israeli immigration lawyer, and what is an Israeli immigration lawyer, and what does an Israeli immigration lawyer do? So basically, in general, immigration to Israel, on the one hand, may not seem so complicated because the immigration laws are very few. But on the other hand, because the immigration laws are few, there is a lot of case law regarding immigration to Israel, and therefore only an experienced lawyer in Israel will understand and be updated on all this case law. It's important to understand that Israel, the state of Israel, is defined as a Jewish and democratic state. And one of the main ways of preserving the state of Israel as a Jewish state is via the law of return. The law of return basically is really the only immigration law proper that exists, and it's not a very long law. It basically says that every Jew can immigrate. It defines who a Jew is, someone that has a Jewish mother, a convert to Judaism, and that he's not a member of another religion. And then it also allows family members of Jews to immigrate, such as a spouse of a Jew, a child of a Jew, a grandchild of a Jew, a spouse of a child of a Jew, and a spouse of a grandchild of a Jew. And all of these people that fit these definitions can immigrate. And of course, you have a lot of developments here because the question of what is a proper conversion arises, what does it mean to be a member of another religion arises. And then you have people that are excluded from immigrating, if you have a criminal background, and so on and so forth. So only under the law of return you have so much case law that was developed over the years. However, there are many non-Jews that live in Israel that have no connection to the law of return. And then you ask yourself, so how are they here? So there are other immigration laws that exist. There is the Law of Citizenship, and there is a law of entry into Israel. The Law of Citizenship basically also allows for an immigration and naturalization process. However, in Section 5 to the Law of Citizenship, it basically stipulates 5 conditions, to become a citizen. One is that you need to be a permanent resident, and soon we will explain this further. It says that you need to settle in Israel, meaning living in Israel 3 years out of 5 years. You need to express a desire to settle in Israel. You need to know the language, and you need to renounce any other citizenship. The main clause I wanted to discuss is that you need to be a permanent resident, because once clearly it says that you need to be a permanent resident, it excludes everyone in the world other than permanent residents. And then of course the question arises, the natural question, how do you become a permanent resident? And here you need to go to the law of entry into Israel. And the law of entry into Israel basically only says that the Minister of Interior may grant permanent residency. How does he grant? When does he grant? Does he have a policy, criteria? The answer is no, he doesn't. And if we go from the beginning of the establishment of the State of Israel until today, we will though discover that there are many permanent residents. So for example, when Israel conquers land or expands its borders and adds new residents, Israel grants to all the new residents permanent residency. That's why all the East Jerusalem residents, the Arab East Jerusalem residents, are permanent residents. And if Israel expands its borders further, like in Area C, for example, and adds new residents, Israel will most likely grant to these new residents de facto of Israel also de jure permanent residency status. In addition, there were government decisions that were made throughout the years to just give permanent residency to various people that were living here, such as the Hebrews, the black Hebrews from Dimona, and you have a whole Christian settlement in Zichron Yaakov, in Beit El there. They all got permanent residency status. In addition, you have every now and then special government decisions to grant permanent residency, like to children of foreign workers. There were 3 decisions, government decisions, that were made to grant to these children under various conditions permanent residency. And then ad hoc, the Minister of Interior sometimes just decides to give to cleargymen permanent residency, to people that are important to the state. and contributed to the state of Israel permanent residency, and so on and so forth. So only once you're a permanent resident, and then you need to meet the other requirements, and you can become a citizen according to the law of citizenship. The law of entry into Israel also allows for other visas, such as a B1 working visa, an A3 clergy visa, an A2 student visa, a B4 volunteer visa, an A5 temporary residency visa, and there are other types of visas as well. And then there are many, many policies that explain and dictate further how to obtain these specific visas. In addition, as I explained about the law of return, also here you have a lot of case law about these visas and about the way the Minister of Interior needs to operate as it relates to the people requesting visas in Israel. So basically it's important to contact a lawyer that has experience and that is updated with this case law in order to get proper representation regarding immigration to Israel. I hope this helped to clarify what an Israeli immigration lawyer is and what an Israeli immigration lawyer does. If you have any further questions on the matter or clarifications, you can feel free to contact us and we'll be happy to be of assistance. Thank you very much for your time.